I grew up with, a pretty typical tiger parents as well. Very strict, a lot of rules, very high expectations. And so even though like I'm second generation, so I knew I would like loosen up a little, but I saw a lot of benefits to that type of parenting, um, and also like my sort of conservative religious upbringing really taught me like your role as a parent is to raise your child to be obedient, to be morally upright, all those things. And so I definitely came at parenting with this mindset of like I need to get it right.
Hmm.
I'm not going to let my kids run all over me. I'm going to, you know just make sure that they turn out okay. um, and I think that mentality was really damaging because then that really pushed me to want to control my kids by whatever means necessary, right? So I felt it was all justified because I was doing it for the greater good and doing it for, to help them stay on the straight and narrow path or whatever. Um, so yeah, I was really um, just caught up in that mentality, and it wasn't until my children really started pushing back and saying we're not having any of this. and and of course I as a parent thought, well, that just means I need to come down harder, like, okay, if this punishment isn't working, well, let's up the ante and make it even more painful for you. And it was just causing so much conflict and tension in my relationship, especially with my oldest child. And so I think a lot of it had to do with me just coming to a personal breakthrough, I guess, with my own healing in terms of understanding what love was, and sort of deconstructing some of my religious beliefs, for one, and really understanding that love is not about control. Love is about freedom and empathy and compassion and grace and all those things. And once I started experiencing that for myself, really seeing how the way I was treating my children like did not jive with that definition of love. One thing that I just did immediately was to stop spanking. And I went to a parenting seminar, and the speaker was just talking about the physiological effects on our children, on their brains and their bodies when we spank or when we approach our kids with punishment or aggression. And that was like an aha moment for me because I had been taught to do that as a good parent, and then suddenly being presented with information showing like why that wasn't a good idea, all the negative effects, like the science behind it. And so um, that was just one thing that I immediately, like after recognizing the neurobiology of that, saying like I cannot do that anymore, that um, I can see the damage that it's doing. I can, like, yeah, I noticed what it was doing to my son. I hadn't labeled it as that before. I thought it was just like he's being disobedient, he's being rebellious and difficult. But then after that, I recognized, oh, he's having a hard time. He's like being overwhelmed by his emotions. And I approached him and I responded with such harshness. And I just felt so grieved that I did that. And that I did that out of ignorance and out of like a lack of understanding. And so I think that really opened my eyes to one chapter that I write about is this misbehavior, and how I had been labeling and judging all of his like unpleasant um, behavior as misbehavior, as being naughty, as being rebellious. And after that, I realized I began to like read up more and understand that all behavior is an attempt to get needs met. And there's something going on underneath the surface where they're just crying out for attention or connection or a nap or whatever it is. And if I can view all that with eyes of compassion and understanding and like a little curiosity instead of judgment, then like I can meet those needs. I can approach him with empathy and like just connect, and I'm able to more readily like get to the root and the source of where those behaviors are coming from. So that I think was a huge turning point for me. It took me a while to learn other tools and other ways to like respond and hold boundaries and connect with my kids. So I think the next thing for me was really to build connection. And I think, you know, like my kids, because there had been so much tension and trauma and conflict for so many years, I think once I expressed a desire for connection, like just holding them or doing something that they like for fun without any agenda of my own, like they were very responsive. Actually, my oldest son in general, of course it took time, you know, that because I had broken trust for so long, it took time for them to learn to trust me. And so I had to be okay with that. I had to be okay when they still pushed back or still, you know, wanted to like um, just go their own way and not respond to my bids for connection with them, because I knew that that was on me, that I couldn't expect them to respond immediately. And so I needed to be patient, you know, and I needed to know like I couldn't go back to those old ways, because if I continued to like default to those old ways, then we would never make progress, right? So I needed to sort of make a pact with myself and my partner, like, okay, we're not going to do that, um, and just be patient with the process and really take time for connection, because I think that's really the foundation of how we begin to like rebuild that trust with our children.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Ianla Van Zant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.